This is Great on Thacker, and here is the newest film directed by Robert Zemeckis, a legendary filmmaker who's made amazing films like Back to the Future, Forest Gump, Castaway, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Death Becomes Her, and just so many more. It stars Tom Hanks and Wright, so a bit of a Forest Gump reunion. One day the trailer for here was released, and I was intrigued. Honestly, you could just say Tom Hanks is in a movie and I'll watch it. Robert Zemeckis directing, the entire movie being filmed from one angle, spanning an entire century. Tom Hanks and Robin Wright being de-aged throughout the entire movie. This is one of those movies that seemed like it was going to try a lot of new stuff, take a lot of big swings, and I was interested. But this movie is not done very well critically or audience-wise. And when a movie does that, it's usually not a good sign. So now even seen here, I guess I'm not in the majority with this one, because I think this movie is really good. I actually loved it. It's not great. It does have some problems, mainly that being the pacing. The movie goes over an entire century, and in order to do that, it cuts back and forth between time periods. None of which was confusing, it just made things feel not so smooth. Like we go from early natives to the modern day to the 60s and back to the 1800s. So while I didn't mind it too much, at times I do think it takes away the focus of the main story, which makes the film feel kind of jumbled. But I did like the concept of going through an entire century entirely through this one angle, that being the living room of a house. That's new, that's neat, that's creative, I like that. But since we do get to spend so much time in this one location, it does kind of make this living room feel like an actual character. And while yes, you could think that the story being confined in just one place would diminish it, it really doesn't. We still get a really good emotional story. That while yes, it's very simple, it's a very beautifully simple story. It really is a story about a century worth of families, and just how those families go from day to day. Now, a big complaint I've seen with this film is that the characters are too one-dimensional. They're not well-rounded, there's not a lot of deep character background or development, which I 100% agree with. And that's actually why I really like the characters in this movie. The movie is really just spectating these families as they go through their day-to-day life, and they experience normal family things. So we don't get a lot of background info on the characters. We don't get crazy character development. It really is just watching a family do everyday family things. The characters in the movie don't feel like characters. They kind of feel like real people. And I should mention the elephant in the room, the de-aging of the characters. And I think it looks really good. Not perfect, but de-aging will never look perfect. But this is definitely the best it's ever looked so far. Previously, the best de-aging I'd ever seen was on Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, where I thought it looked pretty good. But there were definitely some shots where you thought, something's up, that's not quite right, something's a little bit off. And in that movie, it only happened for around 25 minutes. So by the end of the scene, when you start getting used to it, you cut back to old Indiana Jones. But here, throughout the entire movie, the characters are de-aged. And after 30 minutes or so, I forgot they were de-aged. I wasn't seeing de-aged Tom Hanks, I just saw Tom Hanks. And the de-aging looks good. Again, not perfect, but I think it looks really good. Good enough to where I forgot about it. And I feel like at least maybe some de-aging effects are done on their voices, as I have seen some people complain that the old voice of Tom Hanks coming out of young Tom Hanks is just kind of weird. But for me, that didn't really happen. I think their voices must have been at least slightly de-aged, because I think they sound a bit younger than how they sound right now. I have no proof of that, but I feel like probably. And we do know that a large part of the de-aging in this movie was done by AI, which is a great example of how AI should be used in movies. Not to make the entire movie, but as a tool to help improve the movie. This movie is also fairly funny. There were definitely a few scenes that made me laugh. I wouldn't say it's a comedy or anything, but it definitely has some funny moments. And yes, this movie is emotional. There were a lot of scenes where I started getting that emotional feeling. I didn't cry or anything, but I could easily see how someone could. But overall, I loved here. Maybe I'm crazy, but I really did love this movie. I think it's really good. I highly recommend it. Also, if you're enjoying this video, then consider liking and subscribing, and join the subreddit and the Discord server. Bye guys for now! Bye, it's Great on Thacker.